everyone, and welcome to episode 204 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. It's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here today. First off, the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How's it going today, Richard?
What's up, Seth? Happy holidays. Happy
holidays to you.
New Year's Eve?
It is. It is New Year's Eve that we're recording, and along with Richard, we also have content producer extraordinaire, Krim. What's up, Krim?
Well, that's a title. All right. I'm doing great. How about you, Seth? And also happy holidays to everyone.
Yes, happy holidays. I'm doing pretty well. I've got a little bit of a cold over the weekend, but I'm doing pretty well. I have my cough drop, so hopefully my voice holds out through the podcast. But today we have kind of an interesting cast. We're in this weird dead space. If you don't know, Wizards literally leaves like the week before Christmas and doesn't come back until January 2nd. Just the whole company has like a 2-week break. So it's kind of a slow period. We're waiting for spoilers for Ravnica Allegiances, which start on Wednesday. So today we're going to talk about 3 things mostly. Number 1, we do have one spoiler card from Ravnica Allegiance that came out on Christmas. So we're going to talk about that. Then we want to talk a little bit about our experience grinding on Magic Arena, and then to kind of wrap things up before Fishmail, I want to go a little bit over 2018 and kind of do a year in review, talk about some of the big Magic things that happened, looking back on them now that we have a little bit of context, and maybe look ahead a little bit to 2019 as well. So before we jump into it, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by spikesacademy.com, the world's first Magic the Gathering e-learning academy. They have some really cool online courses from great players like PVDDR, Reduke Teaching Modern, so you can join the Academy over at spikesacademy.com and even get 10% off with the code GOLDFISH. And to learn more, check out Spikes_Academy on Twitter. So thank you to Spikes Academy for the support. And with that out of the way, Richard, let's talk spoilers first. So we have exactly one card from this really slow, weird spoiler season. What is that card?
Exactly one card, spoiled on Christmas Day for all you Teferi control players out there. We have Absorb. It's the Azorius counterspell. White, blue, blue, instant, counter target spell. You gain 3 life.
Yes.
It's a reprint, by the way. It's a reprint. They didn't even give us a new card. They gave us a reprint.
So Invasion, I think, was the original Absorb. So you sound excited for this, Krim. How good is Absorb going to be in Standard?
That's kind of the thing, like me and some friends were talking about. We were trying to figure out, like, obviously Sinister Sabotage, the Surveil is very good, right? The Surveil is definitely needed, but Absorb, the gain 3 life, eventually starts adding up to being an additional card, or in this case against red deck, you're kind of like countering a lightning strike in the future or a wizard's lightning. So, and countering the current spell. So maybe you do a weird mixture, like a 3-2 split somewhere down the line, or maybe 3-1 or something like that.
I could see that.
Right. Like it's, obviously, you know, the 3 life I think is relevant. Like it's going to be very relevant in some matches. Obviously, in the control matchup though, Sinister Sabotage is Surveil. I feel like it's just going to be infinitely better, right? In the mirror matches and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I mean, the mana base also is another thing. Like the cost of white, blue, blue can be a little interesting. So, but we're approaching like what would be almost perfect mana, right?
Yeah, with all 10 Shocklands, I'm really not that concerned about the mana, so I think that part, I mean, obviously, you can't be Dimir Control and play this card. I guess you could splash for it, but that seems a little bit unlikely that you're gonna, like, splash specifically for Absorb. But if you're playing Esper, Blue-White, it seems like a good option. I think, for me, whether it's better than Sinister Sabotage, it's mostly a question of what the metagame looks like. I think if we're in a pretty aggressive metagame, where, like, Mono Red / Boros, those style of decks are at the top of the meta, then I think gaining 3 life is probably just better than Surveil 1. On the other hand, if the metagame is like Golgari mid-range, maybe Jund mid-range, and various counterspell control decks, then I think surveilling is probably way more important than actually gaining some random life, which isn't all that relevant in those matchups. So I think it's like a wait and see. I expect it will see play. I've heard some people like on Reddit and social media talking like they're afraid it'll be broken, and I'm guessing think it's just like people really dislike Teferi and they're afraid that it's going to make Teferi broken. That's the only way that makes sense, because I'm pretty sure it's like literally impossible for a cancel with upside to be broken. Like, no matter what upside Wizard sticks on cancel, I don't think we've ever had a 3-mana counterspell that was actually broken.
Broken is a stretch.
Yeah,
but I think it is pretty good. Like, 3 life is nothing to scoff at. It is a lightning strike that you're canceling, and if you play 2 of these, 3 of these throughout the match, like, you're starting at 30 life. Like, good luck red decks, right? So it's actually decent. I mean, one mana, gain 3 life, doesn't cost you a card. Would you play it? Like, I think you would, right?
So I think maybe the biggest argument for this card actually seeing a lot of play is that control decks are playing like Revitalize and horrible life gain spells anyway. So if you're playing like 2 mana, gain 3 life, draw a card, it seems like a pretty easy swap to just like play Absorb, actually have a real magic card that does something, and still gain the 3 life. So it seems like that might be an easy swap for some of these control decks, because you countering something's way better than just randomly cycling.
Yeah, the mana sucks though. Like, if you have to shock to play this, then it suddenly becomes a lot less enticing. And the fact that you do need to assemble blue, blue, white on turn 3 and exactly on turn 3, right? If you're trying to counter things on time, makes it harder, because you always get those draws where you need to shock for this 3rd mana, or you have colorless land, or, something's going on. You might not be able to get it on time, and it makes it a lot worse if you're only gaining 1 if you're paying 2 life to shock.
So I gotta ask you, are we expecting a cycle now of this 1, 2, 3 mana spell? I think I said that really awkwardly. 1 mana of one color, 2 of another color, 3 converted mana cost spell. Because it's very similar to Bedevil, which was the Rakdos, same mana cost, same converted mana cost. So do you think we'll see a Simic and a Orzhov version of this the rest of the guilds, or is this just randomly 2 cards that are sort of similar?
Did we get it last time? Like, we had like Counterflux, the Silence one, which I don't remember. Did we get the full cycle?
Render Silence. That was so bad.
Did we get a full cycle? I don't think we did though. What were the other colors?
We didn't get a Dimir one.
Yeah.
Did we?
I don't think there was a Dimir one, and if it was really bad. Had no one ever played it.
Yeah, it must have been forgotten at this point. Which, by the way, Undermine, I'd love to see Undermine. I think that'd be really cool. That's not like that's too powerful, right?
I mean, I don't even know if it's like that much better than Ionize. Like, I guess you get 1 more damage, but the mana cost is more restrictive. So it seems like Undermine is fine if Absorb and Ionize are fine. Maybe that would be like for the last set when Nicol Bolas comes back for the last Guilds of Ravnica set. Maybe we'll see all the guilds supported again. That could be on flavor. I think Undermine was in the Nicol Bolas like intro deck or whatever the dual deck for Nicol Bolas. So maybe that'll be the flavor tie-in.
Wait, is Bolas really coming back?
Yes, that's what the whole Richard. Where's your lore knowledge? That's what this whole Ravnica block is about. Is leading up to Nicol Bolas. And
I thought we were done with him. I thought we left him on Omnican or something. He's still here. Does the Gatewatch still exist? What is going on?
Yeah, I don't even pay attention to lore, and I know that this is about. Nicol
I'm like, is it Evercool? Like, who's coming out here? Is Nicol Bolas this time? Okay.
Shadow over Ravnica.
I really want Garrick to come back and just kill everyone. Like, they gotta turn it dark. They gotta remove Nicol Bolas. He's been around too long. Emrakul too long. It's Garrick time.
I do kind of miss Garrick. There were some cool Garrick Planeswalkers.
I mean, Apex
it's like kill your Planeswalker. It's like, that's it. It's like, what? Okay.
They go Elspeth, you play Garrick, and you plus. It's not even a minus, you just plus and pick off the Elspeth.
All right. Any other Absorb thoughts before we move on?
Yeah. I think mine is just mostly just trying to figure out what the numbers are between this and Sinister Sabotage, because I'm definitely playing this in best of one.
Yeah, this seems like a card actually. This is a nice segue into our next topic, which involves grinding best of one on Arena, but this does seem, in best of one in specific, better than Sinister Sabotage to me, because the metagame, pretty aggressive in my experience on best of one, so I think I would very much rather have 3 life than Surveil 1 in that format.
But if you're playing control decks in best of one, you're doing it wrong.
All right. Well, good segue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Good segue. Let's talk about the arena grind. That was our second topic for today. So I have been finally, just this weekend actually, starting the ranking up process in best of one. Krim, have you ranked up in best of one or been working on that at all?
Yeah, and you know how Richard just brought up, like, playing control in best of one is a kind of a daunting task.
So are you bouncing around at like bronze 2, just playing Demir like that?
No, I'm not wood 4. I did hit Mythic yesterday.
Ooh, congrats.
But like, it was a long, like, I played every game, like, and let me tell you, every game was very grindy, and because I made an oath that I would not play a single aggro deck.
Did you make this oath when you were 5 years old? Like, when did you make this oath?
I feel like I've aged by 1,000 years. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got there though, and it was a lot, and like, I think what helped was like, on stream I told everyone, I was just like, I'm not using the restroom until I hit Mythic. And so I did.
So you were playing a specific control deck, or just like various control and mid-range decks? How did that work for you?
I tried Jeskai, I tried Sultai, I tried Demir, I did all of that, but then I just went back to Grixis.
Okay. I
landed on Grixis and I stayed on Grixis, and I just grinded the whole way there because the amount of Adanto Vanguards that I ran into made it so that I really, really need Golden Demises, Moment of Cravings, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Contempts.
Those are pretty good cards in the best of one format. Richard, what rank are you? Have you tried this at all? Have you even been playing?
I'm waiting. Okay. I'm waiting. So rumors has it that Richard is washed up and that he hasn't played competitive Magic in a long time. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go grind the ladder to show people. No one cares. Show myself I still got it, right? So I'm just waiting for the right time. So I actually wanted to ask Krim, how many games did it take? And how many hours did it take?
Okay, so I did, like, what is it? The push when I guess, I don't know, I did it seriously about a week and a half after the rank went up.
Okay, so that was what, the 13th? So it didn't take you that long then, because I think that'll only be like a week or two, probably.
Yeah, sounds about right. But it's like a week or two, but I played, well, for probably about 8 hours straight. Like for like 4 days.
So you got like 4 matches in? Like, how many games is that? You're also playing like the worst deck you should be playing to do this. But like, how long is the average Grixis control, game take?
It was, I think let's say about, if my deck did what it was supposed to do, I would say about 10, 12 minutes.
Not bad.
10, 12 minutes, yeah. And then, I mean, this isn't, this is barring any kind of control mirrors, which I ran into. Then we're starting to look at like 20 to 25 minute games.
Yeah.
And I just did that for like a week and a half straight.
Whew. Oh boy. So I have not reached Mythic. I just haven't played enough best of one. So I all on Saturday, actually, in between editing this week's Against the Odds, I started off, I think I was bronze 3 because I'd played like a handful of just random games on stream that were ranked, I guess. So I went from that up to gold playing Golgari Planeswalkers, which I actually kinda like. I at least liked in that part of the grind, the earlier ranks, because you have those Moment of Cravings, Golden Demises, all that stuff that's really good at answering annoying aggro threats, and then Planeswalkers to close out the game. But then when I got to gold, I just had a horrible run with the deck and lost like 5 matches in a row, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I built a 20 land mono red Flame of the Kel deck, and then I won like 8 matches in a row, went up to the next rank, and then I haven't played again since then. So I turned over to the dark side, and I have to say there's tiers in each rank, and once you get to gold, I think it's like 6 or 7. You have to be plus 6 or 7 wins to go up to the next tier. And I think I went up like a tier with mono red in like 20 minutes. The games were like literally 2 minutes or something. Like someone would live, someone would die. I won like 6 in a row at one point and ranked up. So I can see why I run into so many aggro decks, because it definitely makes the process a lot faster compared to playing 25-minute Grixis control matches.
Hey, that's only for mirror matches. Come on now. I mean, I also lose sometimes within like 4 seconds, so.
You play aggro deck, and by turn 4, which is like 3 minutes into the game, you're like, am I winning or am I losing? And then you concede or finish the game out, right? Because it's a numbers game, right? It's like, how many matches can you finish? Like, even if an aggro deck has like a 5% less win rate than, say, a control deck, it's probably better to play the aggro deck because you can finish twice the number of games. And that's why you see, it's not like everyone's an aggro lover on ladder, right? It's just like they want to get to Mythic and they want to get it done fast, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I've done laddering, so like I played a lot of like, like played other games like Hearthstone and stuff, and I did the ladder for that. And, people get discouraged when you like lose a rank or something like that, but that's just how it goes, right? You're going to sometimes like win like 7 in a row, then lose like 20 after, and then you just climb back up again. And on top of that, like much like you said, Richard, it is a game of numbers. But like in every game, as Teferi says, let's slow things down, and that's how I do it. Have
you ever got like the control mirror scoop where you're just like fed of it, or you just scoop without
I'll scoop
finishing the game?
Yeah, no, legit. I'll do the scooping too. Like if they go like Thought Erasure, rip my only relevant card because the rest of my like deck is like to answer, or the rest of my hand is to answer aggro, I'll just concede, go to the next game. I'll like be like, whatever. I don't want to sit here for the next 25 minutes and get like disinformation campaign into the sun. You know what I mean? So
you've gotten all the way up to Mythic. Is the metagame still pretty aggro heavy when you get up to Mythic? Like at the highest ranks, does it change at all and look more like the traditional best of 3 meta, or the paper meta, or the Magic Online meta, or is it still kind of like skewed towards everyone playing aggro decks at the highest levels, highest ranks?
Well, it's still sprinkled with, of course, people trying to hit high Mythic. So there's, of course, Boros Weenies. There's still some red deck, but randomly there is a ridiculous amount of Drakes. There's a lot of Izzet Drakes, a ton of them. And then I randomly ran into like an elf player.
Can you rank out of Mythic?
Fighting the good fight with the elves.
Once you get to Mythic, can you fall out?
You cannot.
Oh, okay. So it is like those games where you hit the highest tier and then just anything goes at that point, because people are like, oh, I don't have to play seriously anymore. I can just play whatever I want now because I cannot drop.
Although, like, once you get to Mythic, you get to see your player rank, or once you get to a certain part of Mythic, are you to that point, Grim?
Yeah. So before I went to bed, I think I ended at like 146th or something like that.
So you still kind of like have motivation to try to keep winning, to move up like the overall scoreboard once you get to that point.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to get like top 50.
That
would be pretty impressive.
Do you decay? Does your rank decay?
I think so, but there's still not a crazy amount of Mythic players. Because when I hit Mythic, I entered in at, I think, 151.
Are you telling me if I hit Mythic now, I can be the top 150th Magic player in the world?
You I guess, on Arena.
On Arena, whatever, but that's where all the players are. That's where the Mythic Championships will be. All right,
you can show the world.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna print out
time for Richard's return.
I'm gonna put it on my wall.
Yeah. I'll mail you one personally if you want. If you hit Mythic, I will make you a plaque.
I'm surprised the number is so small. There's only 150. Or I guess maybe it's actually really hard to get into Mythic. What do you think it is?
I think it actually just is whether or not people, like, for some people, the idea of laddering, right, is still a bit new. If you look around, a good amount of the people that have hit Mythic are, like, Hearthstone pros and stuff like that. Because or like, of course, regular pros. And people that are just used to laddering. So maybe for some people, like, that, the idea of laddering is, not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, you get discouraged from losing, like, 6 in a row, drop a rank. But, people that have played other games that require laddering, you kind of just keep pushing and you just understand that that's how it goes. I've also seen people immediately after they lose 5, they jump back and they just tune their deck on the spot for and they shouldn't do that.
I think
it's like, oh, hold on, I just lost to aggro like 5 times.
Like,
I'm going to play 4 Golden Demises and 4 Ritual of Soots and then get paired against Jeskai.
I think it seems like it takes a lot of time. Even if you are winning a reasonable amount, like, once you get to gold and all the way up through the highest ranks, if you win more than you lose, you will slowly increase your rank. But I think to get up each tier, it's like 6 or 7 wins, and then there's like 4 tiers within each rank or something. So basically it takes if you're winning 60% of the time and playing 8 hours a day, I think you'll hit Mythic within, like, a reasonable amount of time. But if you're playing an hour a day, even if you're winning, like, 75% of the time, it's probably going to take you a long time to get to Mythic if you ever do.
Oh, this sounds like a long time.
Yeah,
I remember when Hearthstone first released.
It's also way different.
It only took me, like, a week or, like, a weekend or something. It didn't take that long to hit Legendary. So I'm willing to put, like, I don't know, 16 hours into grinding. But if it's going to take me, like, 80 hours or something, that's like, way too long.
Remember, it only takes 80 hours or if you're playing Control or something. But
Richard bounces around Bronze 4 for the next month. We never talk about this ever again.
I think, like, also the fact that, with Arena not on mobile, it takes even longer, right, to hit Mythic.
I can't play Arena on the toilet yet. I see.
Yeah, exactly. No toilet Arena yet. Once toilet Arena happens, I think there's going to be a way easier, bigger number of Mythic players.
So how long until your Mythic status gets reset? Like, how long is the season?
I can't remember the exact amount of days, but I know we have 31 days left.
I think it's gonna be monthly, but this season is, like, long because it's their first trial season or something, and then it's gonna be monthly after this first season.
And have they announced any rewards?
Yes.
Do you get anything cool?
Oh, they are horrible. I think Mythic you get
1,000 gold.
Wait,
1,000 gold
serious?
and 5 booster packs. Yeah, it's like winning a draft. Getting to Mythic is like the equivalent of, like, 5-0ing a draft.
You need a new card back, or you need a new avatar. Or, like, who wants 1,000 gold? Like, what is this?
I have so much gold now. I think I'm at, like, 72,000 gold.
Oh my god. You don't even get, like, an avatar or a card back or anything? A new playing area? Nothing?
Maybe we don't know, because remember, this is what they're doing. This is why there's an extended season, all this other stuff. They might roll something out, right, for people. I like, to be honest with you, what's the point of me trying to get high Mythic, right?
Yeah.
They should send you, like, a jacket. Really... They should send you all kinds of stuff. That's what League of Legends does.
A Black Lotus.
I mean, in the rewards also, you don't get that much from going up in ranks. I was just looking at them, and right now I'm at gold, and I think at gold you get, like, 3 packs and 1,000 gold, so putting in, like, those extra 40 hours to get up to Mythic, you get, like, 2 extra booster packs compared to just staying at gold.
You know what would actually be really sweet? If you got, like, a physical, like, Teferi card with your name on it, like your username, and, like, only the top 20 or something of each season get it. Like, that would be super sweet. So you can show up at FNM,
Hero of Season 1
like,
or something.
Right, here's my Arena promo. Shows you how good I am. But it makes you play paper Magic. This is what WotC wants, right? It's like, oh, now you have to play paper Magic to show off your new Teferi. So
I'm all for that plan. Like, I would love that.
In defense of Arena, I do think some of the stuff that we're asking for is gonna come. Like, I expect we don't have cosmetics in the game yet. This is the first season, so I think that this is just kind of a test run, and I wouldn't be surprised if being high mythic like qualifies you for a tournament, if you get special avatars and card backs and stuff. So I think all that stuff will likely be part of Arena eventually. So it might just be a matter of waiting a little bit while they kind of work out how the rank system is going to work.
I mean, we already saw the new card back with the holiday popper event.
Ooh, but that was just for playing, like if you played in the event, you had that card back, right?
Right.
It's not like it goes into your collection or anything.
Correct. You don't get anything for it, but like that means at least now you can see that they've designed card backs and other card backs. Which, by the way, that if you played the holiday popper event, it looked like a doormat, but people said it was a gingerbread cookie. I didn't want to get into that 2-hour long debate, but I did anyways, but like, I was 100% sold that was a doormat.
All right, so before we move on, I got to ask you, Krim, you've done the most ranking up on anyone. Compared to traditional Magic, how much fun is it for you? Like, is the best of one meta in the process? And you said you have some experience with this from Hearthstone and stuff, so maybe it's more natural to you than Magic players who aren't used to it. But do you think it's comparably fun to traditional best of 3 Magic now that you've kind of reached the pinnacle or close to the pinnacle in the best of 1 grind?
Definitely not the same. It's not the Magic that I know and love. The sideboarding, the sideboarding, I know it seems so like, you know, it's so minor, but actually it's huge for me. It's all I've known, right? Since I've played Magic, I've known about a sideboard. That's one of the cons, right? That I just don't have a sideboard, so I can't lean on it to like make to reduce the wrong half of my deck. So this kind of like made me deck build a little differently. And this is where it's kind of cool. Like, you deck build differently. I have main deck Unmoored Egos. I'm split down the middle, to where it's like, my deck is built 50-50. It's ladder, so if I draw the wrong half, I draw the wrong half, right? Like, there's a really wrong half.
Right, you draw your moment of cravings and golden demises against control and things go horribly, or you draw your finishers or whatever against aggro and it's the same. Yeah, it's kind of,
yeah.
Is that where we want Magic to be going? I get, like, is that like a compelling format to watch pros play at Pro Tours? It feels like it's so luck of the draw dependent, even beyond like who gets to play first. It seems like the format itself, the way you're describing building decks for it, at least in your experience getting to Mythic, is kind of just like you flip a coin and hope it's a good matchup and then you win, and then you flip a coin and if it's a bad matchup you lose. Is that an unfair characterization from your perspective?
Not really. It's kind of what I've experienced, right? Like, I mean, am I on the draw against red deck? Because if I am, or I mean, against any aggro deck, do I have golden demise? All right, well, I probably lose. It's like, but that's why you would want to play aggro and maybe not a control deck for the mythic laddering. But I definitely feel like it being a coin toss, and on top of that, like, you know, play draw, right? Play draw is huge in best of 1 right now, because at least in other games like Hearthstone, you had the coin. So you could fight being on the draw. Here, it's just like, I'm on the draw. If I don't have golden demise, I'm most likely dead.
Yeah. Richard, any thoughts? I know you kind of like the idea of best of 1, right?
I like the idea of best of 1 because there are pros to it. The pros are, I can sit down for 5 minutes and finish a match.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
That's why you don't play those decks. If you, I don't know, you can build a deck. This is weird. Like, this is what you're getting at, where it changes Magic. Like, yeah, there are wrong answers, but I forgot who said this. There are never any wrong questions. So you just make a deck full of questions, which are aggro decks, and then you're good to go. But that warps how Magic is played, right? But I'm fine with that. So I don't know. I think the pros outweigh the cons. Like, ladder is a reason for me to play Magic. Without ladder, I wouldn't, you know, I'm not firing up Moto right now talking about how I can, you know, win the next league or, get the border in Magic Online. Like, it's not as important to me, where I'm like, oh, mythic rank, that's something to do, right? That makes me want to try it, right? So I think that part offsets the other part of Magic. But I don't think I want to see a Pro Tour played as best of one, right? But for normal, regular play, like, I think it's fine.
Well, what did you think of how they did the thing for the play of the year? They had Seth Manfield.
Yeah, the right? seven best of one things. I think that's good. I think that's better than best of ones, and I think that makes it entertaining. So I think that's fine. And let's not forget, like, best of fives or whatever are not immune to being bad either, right? Like, we all lament of the mull to 4 or mull to 5 or whatever to finish out the Pro Tour. Like, stuff happens in best of 3s as well. So, I mean, it's Magic. There's variance. Stuff happens. So I think 7 best of 1s is a compromise, and it bridges the Magic Arena player with the paper or Pro Tour player. So maybe that's where it should go.
I think for me, the biggest problem is the metagame. I think, and maybe this is something that could change if they do decide that best of one is the direction they're heading and they try to design specifically for it. But even at the Player of the Year playoff, it was just all linear aggro decks. Like, I think every deck that they chose was essentially just like Boros aggro, mono blue aggro, mono red aggro, and that it matches up to my experience so far playing on the ladder. So I feel like the actual metagame of best of one is not very compelling. Like, sure, best of 3 can be bad, best of 1 can be bad as far as like variance and mana screw, but the metagame, like, you're missing mid-range entirely, and control is probably at a disadvantage compared to best of 3 at least. So you just end up with everyone goldfishing aggro decks because that's the correct way to play the format, and I don't know if I would enjoy that being the primary way people play Magic or the primary format of Magic.
That's the casual way of playing Magic, right? Like, the draw of that is you don't need encyclopedic knowledge to play Magic, right? Like, let's say you play Magic like once a month. You can sit down with your aggro deck, slam some cards, knock out 5 games, and call it a day, right? So, like, I think, like, it's like a casual thing where you don't need to know about every single deck, every single card. Like, yeah, it's okay, you get surprised, you get a Golden Demise thrown on you or something, but, whatever, right? So I feel like it's like the casual way of playing where you don't need to know everything, right? You go in for some quick matches, you're done, you move on with your life. So it attracts the new players or the players that aren't enfranchised. But for people like us, where we play hours and hours of Magic on end every day, it gets stale fast. Right? Like, yeah, okay, if I can't sideboard, if I can't tweak my deck based on what I think decks are going to be, like, where's the fun in Magic, right? So I think there's those two forces going at it, right? We like complexity. New players don't want complexity, right? They're trying to, they're like, what's trample? What's lifelink? Like, they don't need to, worry about the Teferi metagame on top of that, right? They want to keep it as simple as possible and, get through their games, right?
But is the Pro Tour for those players, though? Or, like, the player of... Like, that's the Player of the Year. Theoretically, the 2 literal best Magic players in the entire world. Does I don't know what trample is really apply to that type? Like, I'm fine with having best of 1 be on Arena, and even being a ranked option on Arena, but, man, it really scares me, the thought of that being what we see at a Pro Tour or something, where I think all those casual arguments don't really apply to that setting.
But the viewers are casual. The pros are not, right? It's like John Madden commentating football, right? It's like stripped down to the layman, and he's not using football jargon, even though everyone there is playing at the highest level and they understand the intricacies of football. When you explain it to the person just flipped on the couch, they see people hitting each other, the ball goes across the line, and people throw their hands in the air. They're like, yes, right? Like, it's, I think it's like that, right? Like, the arena player turns on the Pro Tour, they need to watch something they understand. Otherwise, they're not going to watch, and they'll just flip on to something else, right? So, yes, the pros are very skilled, but the viewers may not be, and they have to somehow mesh those two.
I don't even know how many of the, like, I don't even know if the arena players are going to turn into the Pro Tour. Honestly.
I mean, they don't today because no one understands what's going on, right? You're like, glare, like, what is this coverage? Like, what is going on? It's too difficult, right?
But if you look at like the Magic Arena subreddit, it really is like, it is very casual, and it is like 90% memes or complaints. I think that is roughly what that Reddit is. But when they
should
had
we ban
like,
today?
even when they had like the big Twitch Rivals tournament, it was a pretty hot topic on the main subreddit, the Magic subreddit, but it was kind of just like an afterthought. Like the Arena subreddit didn't especially seem to care that much about it compared to the main subreddit. So I'm not even sure if like the people playing Arena even care about watching other people play Magic. They just kind of want to play Magic and have fun with Magic. So it'll be interesting, I guess. All right, so oh man, we really went deep on Best of One.
Every time we talk about Arena.
We have roughly 5 to 10 minutes to go over all of 2018.
All right, we can do it. No problem.
Easy.
All right, lightning mode. So we're going to reflect back on some of the big things that happened in 2018 in Magic, and we're going to keep it short so we actually have a reasonably timed podcast. So going back all the way to January, the first big thing of 2018 was the last of a series of standard bannings. January is when Rampaging Ferocidon, Attune with Ether, and Rogue Refiner were banned from standard. And I think the interesting part of this for me is we went from having horrible standard at the beginning of the year to having a pretty beloved standard format by the end of the year. So how are you guys feeling about standard coming out of 2018, heading into 2019? Are you at all worried we're going to get back to where we were at the beginning of the year or the year before that? Or do you think this period of fun and stability is going to continue on through 2019?
Random.
This standard is booming.
Random.
It's amazing.
It is a really fun, I agree that it's a fun standard format. So, all right, here, let me give you four options, and you tell me which of these reasons is why standard is good. Number one, another thing that happened in 2019, core sets returned. So we actually have core set cards providing answers that maybe weren't there without core sets. Play design team. This is the first standard format where the play design team has been involved in all the sets in standard. Multicolor block. That's another theory that multicolor blocks tend to lead to good standard formats. And if you look back on past multicolor blocks, it's kind of makes some amount of sense. Or is it blind luck? Did Wizards just kind of stumble into good standard after stumbling into bad standards for the past couple years? What is your pick out of those options?
All of the above. I think it's a combination.
First
of
three.
all of them. What? No blind luck, Trim? I
Always calculated.
It's like Magic, right? You have like a 60% win rate. So that's obviously better than a 55% win rate. But in any given game, you may just mull the 4 and go nowhere and lose. So I feel like...
I don't know what you're talking about, Richard. If I mulled a 4, it's calculated. I wanted to mull the 4. So
it's like the play design team helps, going back to core sets helps, multicolors helps. But, they could do all that and the set flops, right? But this time around, it's great, right? But can they reproduce it?
I mean...
Maybe, hopefully.
I think the play team being a part of it is huge too. I really like that.
But they were part of it for so long, and we kept making excuses for them. Like, oh, they weren't part of this whole process. Oh, they didn't have lunch yet. Oh, they were on vacation. Like, I don't know, right? Like, we kept making excuses about why they were not, fully involved until we finally got a good set. And they're like, yeah, it's all on them. Right? Like, what happens when the next bad set comes? Unless you're saying we're never having a bad set ever again. Then I'll believe it. If after 5 years we've had nothing but like tip-top standard, I'm like, wow, that play design team was epic.
We'll find out, right? We're gonna find out.
I will, from my perspective, I think for me, the sample size is still a bit small. For me to say anything is really working. Like, yes, the last 10 Skills of Ravnica, so the last 3 months of standard have been pretty awesome. But come back to me in 6 months after we get through the rest of the block, or next fall when we have our next rotation. If we're still feeling this way about standard, then I'll be very much like, all right, I think we got this fixed. But for right now, I don't know. I'm more in the combination of everything. I think there is some amount of luck involved, but at the same time, I do think Wizards has taken some pretty big steps towards fixing standard with core sets, play design team, etc., etc. So, speaking of things that started the year poorly, and then ended the year pretty well. Masters sets. We started off 2019 with Masters 25, which was, I think, the most reviled Master set. The Tree of Redemption memes were nonstop. And then we ended with Ultimate Masters, which is pretty much widely considered to be maybe the best Master set of all time. So, what did you think of 2018 in Master sets? And bonus question, how long until we get another one? You know that Wizards, they're gonna keep cashing in reprints. How long do you think they'll hold to this? This was the last Master set thing moving forward.
Are we counting like Mythic Edition to be part of this or no? Masterpieces,
Edition,
like they did all kinds of things with like these premier products.
So, okay, let's just lump them all together. So we also had, yes, Mythic Edition, the pay $250 for most of a booster box, and these Planeswalkers. What do you think of all this, like, trend towards these premium products that is likely going to keep going, I would assume, since they've all seemed to sell really, really well?
Yeah, I like Ultimate Masters. I don't believe for a second that it's the last Masters thing. Like, maybe it's the last one called Masters, but they're going to reprint stuff in more expensive booster packs and sell them to you. So that will keep happening, I believe. But I think hopefully they learn from Masters 25. Part of the problem with 25 is how they branded it. Same,
put Tree of Redemption in it.
Yeah, and like Iconic Masters.
How nothing good was in it.
Iconic Masters. Like all of these things was like how they named it, right? If you're like, this is the greatest set ever, full of the cards you love, and then you don't put the cards that everyone loves in them, it's like there's a problem. So, I mean, in some ways, Ultimate Masters lives up to its name, right? It is actually the Ultimate Master set, so it's fine, right? If they're like mid-range draft playable commons masters, and then, you know, that's what you get, like no one's gonna complain, right? So I think they figured out its messaging. Same with Mythic Edition. It's the same as the San Diego Comic-Con Planeswalker set. But people were very, very upset because of how they messaged this product and, you know, what they portrayed it as, right? But it's no different than any of the other things they've sold in the past. So I think Wizards has learned how to message things. So I think in 2019, we're not going to see kind of these pitchfork threads on Reddit anymore. Well, regarding these things, regarding announcements.
I think we'll see at least one.
I mean, it is Reddit, and we will always get them, but...
Yeah. I mean, I feel like pitchforks are just always out on Reddit, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Wizards is going to keep doing these products. I think there's too much money there with stuff like Mythic Edition for Wizards to not keep making them and not keep upping the prices on them like we saw with Ultimate Masters until they reach a point where people actually stop buying them. And then that will be when Wizards is like, okay, maybe we went too far, maybe we're doing this too much. But at this point, from what we can tell, Ultimate Masters sold out or sold really well. Mythic Edition crashed Hasbro Toy Shop, which isn't much of a feat knowing Hasbro Toy Shop, but still, it did sell out on Hasbro Toy Shop. So I think we're going to keep seeing more of these products. I actually think we're going to see Mythic Edition for Ravnica Allegiances. I'm expecting that to be announced shortly and have the same type of thing. So, well, Speaking of special cards, at the beginning of the year, Wizards announced they were going to a new Buy a Box promo system, printing exclusive Buy a Box promos. And it started off okay with Firesong and Sunspeaker. And then we had Nexus of Fate. And then Nexus of Fate kind of broke things in Standard for a while. It got pretty expensive. At one point, it was like $80 on Magic Online, and you could hardly find copies, and it was a big thing. And then Wizards, it seems like they've reeled it back in a little bit with the huge worm from Guilds of Ravnica. We have some random 6-drop vampire from Ravnica Allegiance. So what do you think about the Buy a Box promos from 2018? Do you think Wizards has figured this out? Going back to our skill versus luck thing, the best of one argument, skill versus luck. Do you think they figured out Buy a Box promos and got them in a point where they're not going to Nexus of Fate Standard, or have they just kind of got lucky with the last couple?
They're gonna change
this
it.
one's luck. I think this one's luck.
They're gonna change it. Like, they wanted Nexus of Fate to happen, but they didn't want the backlash around Nexus of Fate. Like, Nexus of Fate was a reason for you to buy a box and get this promo. Like, what is the worm even called? from Guilds of Ravnica. Like, no one knows.
Impervious Great
No
Worm.
one wants it. No one cares. No one's buying a box because of it. So that's not.
You don't know
that's
that
not
yet.
that's not serving WotC's purpose, right? So I think they will come and tinker with this some more, and they just got to figure out how to do it without getting everyone upset, because they do want people to buy boxes to get these promos.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nexus of Fate was probably very good for Wizards, but there was a lot of backlash and hurt feelings over how it went down. So I think you might be right that they will maybe try to up the power level a little bit. The most recent one, I think, is probably the worst one we've seen yet. I mean, it's good for Commander, but it does not seem to have much of a chance in Standard, so maybe they will try to push it a little bit further once people kind of forget about Nexus of Fate and they feel safe to up the power level a little bit, because like you said, I don't think anyone's going to go buy a box because they get a Haunt of Hightower. That doesn't sound realistic. Well, speaking of debacles, we got to talk about Silver Showcase. Silver Showcase, and this kind of leads us to our last topic, which is the big esports announcement. So, 2018 was kind of the weird year of Wizards transitioning towards this esport paradigm. We've seen a lot of sponsored streams from people kind of outside the game, Hearthstone streamers from other games, and this kind of came to a head with the Silver Showcase, which was the big beta draft, tons of money being paid to players, and when they finally announced the players, it was like 50% Magic players, 50% Hearthstone players, including a bunch that had like publicly quit Magic because they weren't making enough money playing it, and that led to all kinds of problems and uproars and pitchforks. So where do you think we're at with Magic's relationship to people outside the game, or people that used to be in the game? Are you expecting to see more Silver Showcase sponsored streamers from other games heading through 2019, or did Wizards, are they scared of that now thanks to the backlash to Silver Showcase?
I mean, for me, I think I expect to see more streams, more sponsored streams, definitely.
I think they fixed it, right? Like Silver Showcase and how Arena was launched is basically the same. They basically gave a bunch of money to popular streamers of other games. But in the case of Silver Showcase, it was very visible, right? You see these people invited, they're playing with our beloved beta cards, and everyone was very upset because you're like, why are you rewarding people outside of our community? But the same thing basically happened when Arena launched. Like, WotC paid a lot of money for various streamers outside of the Magic community to start playing Arena, right? They could have fed that money back into Magic streamers only, but they didn't, right? Because they want exposure to other games. But that happened behind the scenes. So people didn't really see that as like a betrayal, and like it's not obvious and in your face. So there was no backlash. And in fact, it was well received. People were like, oh, look, random Hearthstone streamer is streaming Magic Arena with this many viewers, right? Like, look how popular our game is. It's great, right? So I think they learned how to message this and use their money in a way that doesn't cause existing players to be upset. Right, but at the end of the day, they just spent a bunch of money to advertise the game to, non-Magic players. It's just Silver Showcase was the bad way of doing it, and then the Arena launch was the good way of doing it, right?
Yeah. I think that's pretty true. The context of the Silver Showcase and it being like this nostalgia anniversary, reflecting on the past 25 years type of event, I think that made it a really awkward fit for non-Magic players, when something like Arena, which is very clearly trying to draw in players from different games, that seems like a more natural fit for that type of advertisement, I think. All right, so one last question, and then we'll get to our fish mail. This one kind of looks to the future a little bit. So I've been seeing, in just the past couple weeks, some lists going out of like esports to watch for 2019, and some of them are putting Magic Arena / Magic #1. Like, there's a lot of hype behind Arena right now. We have the big pro league coming. We have these big money tournaments. So let's fast forward until the end of 2019, a year from now. What are we saying about Arena then? Are we celebrating the successful birth of Magic as an esport? Are we complaining about how it all went wrong along the way? What are you expecting as far as the esports end of things over this next year?
I mean, what I'm expecting and hoping is that the esports thing, I mean, it's what, I mean, I personally always wanted to see for Magic, seeing it break into the esports world. So I think in 2019 we'll be celebrating it. I would think there's just no way that like Magic moving into esports is just perfect. It's what I've always wanted to see for the game. So I'm going to definitely be celebrating it.
Yeah, I think this was the most exciting news of 2018 for me, the esports announcement, and 2019 we're going to see it executed. You know, this time a year ago, we were talking about whether Arena was the next Duels of the Planeswalker. Whether it was like, yeah, it's some product, they're going to put it out, and it's just going to die and wither away, right? This announcement is proof that it is not, and it's the future of Magic. So next year, I think, is where we're going to see just like an explosive growth of Magic. I think as this launches, you know, when people say, oh, you're playing Magic the Gathering, like I saw it in the news, there's like $1 million tournament happening this weekend, right? It's that game from like 20 years ago where you cast demons and angels, right? Like I think like that's going to bring a lot of people back, because surprisingly, just talking to random people I meet, a lot of people know about Magic. They may not play Magic regularly, they may not watch streams, but they know about that game in high school that the nerds played or whatever, right? Like they know about it, and a lot of them play it, right? They're like, yeah, I know how to play. Like I played before Planeswalkers were introduced, right? Like, you know, so you're gonna rope a lot of these players back in with Arena, and I think it's just gonna be crazy with all the money they're putting in. And now that we're being compared to real esports, like, you know, the League of Legends, the Counter-Strikes, the Overwatches, the whatever, right? Like, hopefully we're actually up there. And if we are, it's going to be a huge thing for the game.
So give me your prediction as far as, like, Twitch, which is where esports happens. Right now, a great Magic tournament might have, like, 40K viewers. Like, one of the better Pro Tours hits around 40K. What do you think in the end of next year? We've had a year of esports, this Pro League, we got tournaments on Arena. How many viewers are we going to hit for a big Magic Arena tournament?
Twitch Rivals hit, 10K on a random Tuesday, announced the day before the event?
Yeah?
Right? So I have to, I mean, like, if like there was actually a push and like, you know, with the big $1 million tournament, I have to, like, I think personally that we could probably get those numbers without a doubt. There's just like push behind it and all of that. Cause now, like Richard said, people are hearing about it again. You know, like Magic, our game, it was on ESPN articles again, you know, stuff like that. So it's making its way back into the mainstream. And, you know, like with an actual push behind the tournament, it would be huge.
I think 100K easy. All they need to do is when you launch Magic Arena, the Pro Tour is playing on your homepage. That's all they need to do.
Boom.
Right? That's all they need to do. And people will watch and they're like, oh, what is this? Right? They just need to do a little bit of advertising, right? Like, hey, check out this cool deck that's, you know, winning the Pro Tour or whatever, right? Or here's your chance to play to win $1 million. That's all they got. They just got to slide it casually into the client, and it'd be even better if you could view it in the client, right? If you could spectate in the client, oh, that'd be amazing. But they have the means. Like, if they are truly reaching millions of people in Arena now, just getting them to watch Twitch shouldn't be that hard. Especially if you're like, tune into the Pro Tour, get a free card back. Easy 100K, 200K, easy, right? So, you know, watch Pro Tour. If someone strip mines someone, get a free booster pack. Like, you know, tie it into the events, right? I don't know what the equivalent is. It's like if there's a pentakill or a Baron Steel or something, you unlock special stuff, right? I don't know what it would be in Magic. Like,
well, Hearthstone did a thing where you can like pick your champion too.
Ooh,
you know, pick a pro.
Yeah.
And then they give you booster packs for every win they get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you know, free booster packs. Why not?
There's tons of cool things that they can potentially do. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'm confident they're going to hit 100K this year. I think the potential is definitely there, but I'm not 100% sure that Wizards is all the way there to make it happen. Like, we don't have the spectator mode. We don't even know when that would be coming. There's like, they haven't shown much of a sign of cross advertising, like in client to things outside the client. So I think if they do things right, we could get there, but I'm wondering if it's going to take a little bit longer. And this is going to be the transition year, and maybe 2020 is when the rewards really pay off. That is my one fear, is that Wizards is viewing this as like a big advertising being pushed with Arena launching, and these like pro contracts and all this stuff is because we don't really have much information beyond this year. Like, we know what's happening for 2019, but we don't really have much information beyond that. And my fear is if things don't go good right out of the gate, then Hasbro maybe tightens the purse strings in 2020, and some of these things that we're so excited about now don't materialize the way they could if Wizards does everything right and keeps getting the big money support from Hasbro.
Yeah, and I'll one up you, Seth. I think this year we'll see our first, I don't know, Red Bull Magic player. I think we're going to see sponsors that are not, card game vendors or card game supplies. That we will see like a Geico Magic the Gathering championship team or something like that, right? Like we will get...
Or tournament.
Yeah, we will get sponsors outside of our community. I think this year we'll see that as well.
That would be a huge step forward.
That's just that's why the excitement for Magic going into esports is just like unreal for me. Just so many big things could happen for the game.
We're being NASCAR now, Krim. You're going to go on stage. You're going to have like 8 logos on you. You're like, yeah, I represent 60 brands. It's time for the Teferi Power Play, sponsored by Energizer.
Oh, man. All right. So that's enough looking back, looking ahead. Richard, give us some fish mail on the way out the door today.
All right. Last fish mail of 2018. Everyone's on vacation, so we don't have too much. So if you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to our questions on air. Captain Woodrow, I decided to break my free-to-play arena streak and buy a $100 gem pack. Do I buy a 45-pack collection or value draft the entire amount on Guilds of Ravnica, or a mix?
You probably need a mix. I think drafting is probably the best option if you enjoy playing limited. I think that's the way you'll get the most for your money, but I probably wouldn't spend all of it drafting just Guilds of Ravnica. I'd try to jump around as other formats come up.
Yeah, I personally, it also, once again, comes down to how good you are with limited and how comfortable you are in your limited abilities, right? I'd probably buy a mixture of packs personally, because I love constructed. But hey, if you get mythic in limited, that's like 6 packs and 1,000 gold.
Yes. You get another draft for free. Hooray.
Boom! Value.
11 Vicious. Have you guys ever thought about doing a cube clash? Like once a month, a cube is designed and you guys draft that cube 4 times a month. Then another cube is made for the next month and so on. Congrats on 200 episodes. Been a fan since day one.
Ooh. The big challenge with stuff like that is we all live so far apart from each other. So it's challenging to do things that would require us being together. Maybe it's somehow possible to do it online, but I don't know if it would work very well.
Yeah, Moto needs cube support.
Though.
Like, I don't know why you can't just upload your cube list to Moto and, like, pay some ticks for the ability to upload and then just have people draft your cube.
Oh, it would be so sweet. I've wanted that for so long.
I only want to play Ashiok, so if the cube doesn't have it, I probably won't.
Yeah, you got to be able to browse and rate cubes. Krim's like, no stars, no Ashiok.
Yeah, dude, 0 stars. 0 Ashiok. Unplayable, not fun.
M. Kinnard, returning old fart player here. Magic Arena brought me back after Twitch Rivals talk. Would you rather have an incomplete open beta arena now or no closed beta until it was more fully baked?
I think that Arena should be live now. Although at the same time, I do somewhat feel like Wizards maybe launched a little bit early when they first launched the closed beta, and they could have done more to like figure out stuff ahead of time rather than just kind of crowdsourcing it and dealing with all the pitchforks on Reddit constantly. So I think maybe they shouldn't have launched a year ago when they first did, but I do think that it should definitely be up now.
Yeah, I think when they launched, like when the NDA lift went up, I think it was a little bit soon, but they should have kept it the NDA and all of that just for a little bit longer and just kept it in closed beta for a little bit longer. But I like the whole. Believe it or not, I like that they've had the community the whole way through, though. You know what I mean? I know that it's caused pitchforks, but I'm a huge fan of the fact that they've just, like, it's like the first time I've gotten to play a game where the community actually really felt like it was like we kind of built the game from the ground up. Like we helped give all the feedback. I liked it personally, but I could see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I mostly feel bad for the devs. I feel like having it go out so early led to just like so much sometimes contradictory feedback, and it had to be really, it seems like it would be easier from their perspective if they had waited a little bit before going public, just because there was just so much conversation and complaining on social media when it first happened, so.
I definitely know how many people complain about the UI and all this stuff, but hey, you know, the cool thing about it is like the devs, the whole team, they're always like popping into streams, all this other stuff, like, you know, fixing and like learning about the bugs live in person, right? Like as it's happening, like watching other streamers do it. I thought that was pretty cool. Like Chris just comes in and is just like, hey, what's this bug? What happened here? And I'm like, whoa, it's like having live like tech support. This is awesome.
All right. Benjamin with why aren't Battlelands played more in the modern formats?
Modern is just super fast. In having 2 basics before they come into play Untapped that's actually kind of rough. I was excited for them as budget duels, and now after trying to make decks work with them, they just come into play tapped way too often.
Only one deck I've played benefited from it, and that was Scape Shift.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's so many land options in Modern that it's like pretty difficult to fit them in, because having 2 basics is really hard. Sometimes you have a utility land or something, and that just screws up your mana for the rest of the game. So the risk is pretty high. Whereas you could just play shock lands, play the fast lands, and like usually you have no problems whatsoever with that.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you don't respect Seth's favorite card, Blood Moon.
Well, if I respected Blood Moon, I wouldn't be getting Battlelands into play anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you got Dylan Hunter, if you guys had to pick, what are your 2 or 3 favorite new cards that were first printed in 2018?
Ooh.
That's tough. I don't even know.
Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Go away.
Really?
Oh.
Fine card. Wonderful card. Good for the metagame. I love it. I'm just happy Control has a win con now, and it's like actually efficient. You know what I mean? I don't want to pearl like ancient people anymore. All right, Richard? Tired of it. I don't want to bounce my 3 lands back to my hand.
This is probably cheating, but I think my favorite group of cards from the year were the sagas. I think sagas are just super flavorful. They're really unique designs. If I had to pick one of them, maybe like Fall of the Thran was the one I was most excited for when it first came out. Also, Thousand Year Storm has developed into one of my favorite build-around cards from the year, so.
I'll go with a very boring pick in the Battle Bond lands. No one likes them. They're so good. It's like an auto-clue in every deck, and every time I build a deck, I'm like, why is this cycle not complete? Why is this cycle
That is the perfect filthy casual pick, Richard.
You sure? I was like, hold on. I was going to choose like the worm, the Grabotha. Whatever. That's the filthy casual pick.
Moldratha is my favorite
only
card.
Spikes choose lands as their favorite card, okay?
Real estate is important.
Beer of Nihilea. What are your thoughts on the big 75k payout reward for MPL weighed against the lack of stability and the fact that people will be voted off the island each year? People are potentially quitting their jobs to pursue this.
Yeah. That's a interesting topic. I think at this point, I'm in wait and see mode, because we don't really know what happens to everyone that just missed out on being in the pro league. So I think I gotta withhold judgment until we see, like, is there our gold pros, current gold pros, and the rest of the platinums, are they still going to all the pro tours? Is it still roughly the same sort of lifestyle as they have now? Or is it like, if you're not in the top 32, you get absolutely nothing, and we're just funneling it all into this top-heavy system? So I think we gotta wait and see where we get more information about how the rest of the system works.
Yeah. I mean, I have some friends that are just like, I guess, gold, and apparently this really messes with them. Like, right? Like, or not gold, sorry, bronze. Yeah, they're just like just on the cusp of anything. Like they're not getting anything from it. So I'd like to see what happens to the players that aren't in the top 32.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. I think it's great for the top 32. I think even if you end up getting relegated, and we don't even know how that'll work at this point, which is another reason it's hard to say much about. So I think it's good overall, but I definitely have concerns for the people that aren't in that select group.
Yeah, and for people in the top 32, I think this is better because today if you're in the top 32, you get no stability anyway. So momentary stability is better than no stability. But it really depends on what happens when you drop off. But I feel this is not different from any other sport or esport. Like you can get cut in the NFL, right? You can go from making money to no money one season to the next. So there's always going to be some cutoff. And if you're the person getting pushed below the line, it kind of sucks, right? But I mean, you can't just have everyone be in there making the salary, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess in pro sports though, you make so much money that in theory, it's worth it anyway.
If you're like player 52 on the roster and you're just special teams unit guy, like, are you really making that much money, right? You play your one season.
I think the lowest you make is like $100K, right? Like in the NFL, it's like even like a 17th stringer.
But that's the rest of your life, right? Like you spent the entirety of your life getting here, and once you're out of the NFL, you're just going to be like a grocery store bagger or something. Like you don't have a fallback career, right? So it's that 100K is going to
get good,
last the rest of your life and your health bills, right? So it's not that worth.
The old get good improvement is all I can say.
Get better genes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, 70,000 just, I mean, that's definitely a decent job, but it's not like, oh my God, I made so much money. It's like, oh, that's a decent, okay living-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess something you could look to for this kind of stuff is also like the Overwatch League. Like the Overwatch League, you can try to have some like B tier teams. Like, and they're also expanding, so at least for esports, and there's some solid wages from the Overwatch League.
It's called the minor leagues. So you can get like a league below where that's where you come up from, right? And you might get relegated to the minor leagues if you're not good enough, but then you go there, you hone your skills, and you get better, and you go back up into.
You just farm the minor leagues,
basically. Yeah. The farm team. It's actually called the farm team. So, all right. Last question. Jared Worley 10. Do you think Mono Green Tron is in a good place right now? I've been having a really hard time against the Green Black Rock deck. Any suggestions to improve the matchup?
Assassin's Trophy seems like a problem that makes that matchup a lot worse than it used to be. Although, I mean, Mono Green Tron is still putting up a lot of results, so it seems like it's still relatively fine as far as like its tier in the metagame, even with the matchup against Green Black getting worse. So as far as improving the matchup, I'm not really sure. I don't play enough Tron to really know the intricacies of that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, also like it's even if you did play it, like what can you really bring in to stop them from blowing up your lands, right? I mean, like what you splash blue and then you're no longer mono green, right? Because you can get like a Simic Charm to give your permanents like what, hexproof or indestructible.
What is it? Sacred Ground? What is
Sacred Ground? Yeah.
There was one point where people were there was a green-white Tron deck that was playing Sacred Ground a long time ago. So I guess, like, if you're really worried about your lands getting blown up, Crucible of Worlds, Sacred Ground is another option. So there are ways you can kind of make sure that you assemble Tron still, although stuff like Surgical Extraction is problematic. I guess the other thing is just to play more castable threats. I'm looking at some of the Tron decks that have been successful recently, and a lot of them are playing like 3 Thragtusk, 3 Thought-Knots in the sideboard, and having cards that you can actually just cast even if you don't have Tron, and taking advantage of the fact that if your opponent like blows up your Tron piece, you're actually ramping there. So you're like, oh, okay, sure, I'll just play like Thragtusk a turn early or Thought-Knot a turn early. So maybe that's the strategy that people are going with.
Yeah.
I played against a mono green Tron that had Carnage Tyrant out of the sideboard.
That doesn't match up great against Liliana, but that still sounds brutal. I'm seeing some Emrakul the Promise ends too, which that's like double ramp because you get the land in your graveyard, so it reduces the cost, and you get a land on the battlefield. That's a combo against Assassin's Trophy.
I have Emrakul Promise End right now to the sideboard of my Esper deck.
All right. And on that note, that'll end our fish mail. So if you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I think that brings us to the end of episode 204 of the Goldfish Podcast. So we will be back next week with a ton of Ravnica Legion spoilers to talk about. They start on Wednesday. So Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. One more thanks to Spikes Academy for supporting the show. You can check them out at spikesacademy.com. Get 10% off with a cold Goldfish. So have a wonderful holiday, everyone. Happy New Year, and we will be back next week. So until then, this is the crew signing out.